Welcome to Career Coffee Chat Live. I'm your host, Erin Urban. Are you ready to make a quantum leap forward? Welcome to the Career Coffee Chat Show. I'm excited to have you and excited to have our amazing guest, who I'll introduce here in a moment today, to talk about how we are engineered to thrive. This struggle environment that sometimes we're programmed into is not necessarily something we have to accept. So as you tune in to the show, whether you're watching live or listening to the replay or podcast later, please say hi, say your name, say you're from. If you are listening to the podcast, give us a thumbs up, a star rating. We'd love to hear from you because we are here to serve you and help elevate you, my friends. So again, as you tune into the show, say hi and say where you're from. And don't be shy. Ask your questions. I love having audience questions and audience engagement. So it means a lot to me. Because what we talk about today is what's keeping you in survival mode. Now, most of you may or may not be aware that 95% of our life is actually run from our subconscious mind. And a lot of it we're doing on automatic. These are where our old patterns are stored. And these patterns determine how much abundance, success, happiness, what we create and what we attract in our life. And that's not just the law of attraction. And no, it's not some sort of voodoo methodology. It's real scientific neuroscience that's behind this. What we'll be talking about today in our very exciting Career Coffee Chat show is how to upgrade your patterns and rewrite your life. Now, joining us today is Michelle Spires, and she's a quantum leap specialist and head coach at Encompass Life. And her journey into the subconscious started with health and wellness, which we'll learn more about in a minute. She was introduced to consciousness techniques through someone who was doing all the right things to support their health, nutrition, oils, etc., but their health was still continuing to decline. And as soon as this person found out the emotional root behind that situation and upgraded it, his health began to return to normal and better very quickly. This was a big aha moment for her. So I'm really looking to diving in with Michelle about what she's discovered in this work and how she quickly discovers patterns of sabotage in her own life, address those patterns, and then helps her clients and people like you, my friends, upgrade to thrive. I want to say hi to you, tuning in from Katie, and I want to say also a big welcome to the show to Michelle. Great to see you, Michelle.
Hi.
Hi, I would
Erin.
love
Thanks
to
for
hear
having
more
me.
about your journey. I mean, it's really fascinating. I know we talked about this before the Career Coffee Chat show, obviously, when we were chatting about setting up the show and grabbing dates.
Yeah.
But I'm really interested, like, what was that aha moment? Was that the aha moment with that client who was like not doing so well, doing all the right things, but really just not really making strides? And then that subconscious shift, was that really what
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah. I mean, that was a really, I mean, there have been lots of incremental steps along the way.
Mm-hmm.
I loved physical health
Mm-hmm.
and wellness. And it was, really cool. But it was still I was like, this is great, but I can have physical health, and the rest of my life can seem like it's in disarray.
Right. Right.
It can seem, exhausting, or, I can feel worked up about it, or there are all kinds of things. And so that prompted me to look at other things that went from physical fitness into nutrition. And that was cool. I could feel my body shifted, and I felt more ease in my life after
Mm-hmm.
nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started playing with oils, like you mentioned, essential oils, and really added that in.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, when this person shared their story with me in real time, and this had just happened with them, I was in awe, like, because they were, and this was somebody that I was actually learning from this person. They're a naturopathic doctor, and so they were doing all the right things to have health in their body according to what I had learned so far in life. And I was like, well, how is this even possible? And along with their story, it was like every part of my body went, yes, do that. absolutely
We need
do
to pay
that.
attention to that, don't we?
Yeah,
We really
absolutely.
do.
And so, so then I jumped in and I started taking all the classes I could take to understand more about what was going on. And um, and it's interesting at that point, my physical body was in great shape for me personally at that point for what I was familiar with, but the rest of my life was it seemed it was rough.
Yeah.
It was really rough. And so everything's connected.
Yes, it is.
Everything's connected. And by the time it's showing up in my physical body, I've been ignoring signs and signals about how to upgrade my life for some time, for it to show up in my body in the way it showed up in hers.
Yeah.
So, that was a big eye opener for me. And so it was a deep dive from there. It's really interesting because I really had zero idea how I was going to afford the classes that I desired to take. I talked about the rest of my life, including my finances and so I just committed to it. I was like, whatever this takes, I'll figure it, it'll show up for me.
And that's important too. So you're a little bit ahead of the curve. You had an idea that, and a lot of times, once we set the stage, we need to allow it to happen and get out of the way. I want to say hi to David. Good to see you again. We were chatting earlier today. Good to see you. And as you tune in to the Career Coffee Chat Show, please say hi. Share where you're from and ask any questions that you have. And I'd love to, for those of you who are tuning in or watching the replay later, have you ever noticed something showing up in your body that you may have a suspicion probably connected to something else in your life, whether it be a stressor, not necessarily just, oh, I'm eating bad, and of course, I gained this little, extra COVID weight over here or whatever. It's not necessarily that. It could be something else, like a gut wrench in the morning when you wake up and you think about what you have to do, or is that tension in your mouth, or maybe you have this hissing in your ears because you have a lot of tension around your neck, and why is that going on? So there's and disease too, wouldn't you say, Michelle?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. As far as I can tell, every single thing that's going on in my body, every single thing, dis-ease or a lack of ease produces disease. Period.
Right.
Period. It just does. I've looked at it, the saying, I've looked at it every way from Sunday. I've looked at it all the different ways. And every time, if I have the courage to stay and find it, because you were mentioning, it's rooted in our subconscious. These are beliefs and feelings that I've had about life and about me. A lot of these things are things that I either made up from an experience a long, long time ago as a little kid. That's where a lot of it started. Or I was even taught by my parents how it works. So, if anything is showing up in my physical body, it is absolutely telling me a story about me and my relationship to life.
And what's going on in our life too. I had something happen really recently. In fact, a client, now this is one of the most clear cases, among other things, of self-sabotage that I've ever seen. She had some significant limiting beliefs around how much impact and abundance and success that she could experience in her life. And we knew that going in, and she's aware of it. However, it became very apparent the roadblocks this type of mindset will throw up in your path when she started reviewing the type of work that we're doing together, and expressing her contributions and what she was able to bring to the table and really elevating her impact as a professional. Her reality testing kicked in because it was contradictory to her belief about herself and her self-view. And it was wild. Things went seriously wrong. She was insulting, she was fault finding, and I was just like, what is happening? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is going on? I was just like, what? I was floored. I was shocked. And then fortunately my training kicked in. I was like, I bet you her self-belief is in fear, because she's just really focused on the fear. I won't find the right path. I will never get success. She's just consumed with this fear. And we talk about that. So I bet that is creating this action, this reaction
Mm-hmm.
to something contradictory of something she very firmly believes and has scripted for herself. And by pushing me away, then the fear wins.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
It was wild. I was like, okay, we time out. And I shared with her. And it takes a lot of courage to do that, by the way, when someone is like throwing the F-bomb at you.
Yeah. It takes courage for the coach and the client.
And the client. And for her to accept that too. That takes courage on both parts. And we say, hey, this is what I think might be going on. Can you reflect on the realities of what you're experiencing? And I'll be happy to walk you through that. And I think she's starting, maybe we're very early days, so fingers crossed that she'll take the courage to maybe step through that and start working on peeling back the layers of the onion, if you will.
Yeah, that sounds like a whole bunch of fun. It really does. And I'll tell you why. Because have you ever heard your greatest weakness shall be your greatest strength?
I've heard that. Yes. Explain more.
Awesome. So that's a promise about life. So if whatever my biggest challenges have been up till now, I'm really here to bring forth the exact opposite in my life and in everyone in my world. And we're talking about careers here, so it's in part of my business too.
Right.
And that's I can have a career, and that's great. But unless I'm living my purpose within my career is still going to suck.
True.
If I establish my purpose and I flip hamburgers at McDonald's, as long as I am living my purpose, I will have the most profitable McDonald's on the planet. Because I am magnetic. I'm aligned with who I've upgraded any sabotaging belief systems, and I'm living my pattern. I'm living my purpose. Instead of my pattern, I'm living my purpose. So if my purpose is to ignite courage and beauty everywhere I go, I can do that anywhere. And if I choose all right. So if I'm living my purpose, my self-value goes up.
Right.
My confidence goes up.
Yes.
Well, when my perceived value goes up, so does my income, because it's a mirror reflection of me.
Ooh, that's a good one. You're spot on. Yeah.
It has to be. That is a beautiful gift. So if my money is tanking, it's not about my money. It's not about doing things the right way. It's not about doing more marketing and advertising. I mean, those can be things that I do, but if I do them from a place of strife and struggle and worry, strife, struggle, and worry are woven into the marketing.
Yes. Well, it's really interesting you mentioned that, because that's where a lot of entrepreneurs are. And I too have been there, and still unpacking that belief, because from an entrepreneurial standpoint, we have had this drip torture. You have to do these things. You have to send out the email blast, or do the newsletter. You have to do the LinkedIn post. And I love being on LinkedIn, but I love being on LinkedIn for a different reason, because I love giving and it's so much fun and I enjoy it. but I don't really want to be everywhere. Like, I don't really want to be on Twitter and Instagram. I mean, I'm on Instagram because I can copy paste. You know, I mean, I don't.
The ease of
There's some places
Instagram.
I'm just like, yeah, it's not really where my energy is. So I'm like, no. But you're told you have to do all the things, or if you don't do all the things, you'll never. You know, do you hate money? That's what one coach told me. He's like, do you hate money? You just need to do whatever program he was, doing for me. And it's not that I hate money. It's just that's not where my energy is.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm not aligned with the actions that I'm doing, then how is that going to work exactly?
Yeah. So, and my question to when that's coming up is, are you a human doing or a human being?
Right.
Because my beingness, all of life, including my physical body, is alive. Like I'm different than my physical body. This is a suit. Got it? Like I'm my soul and my spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So and that's a deeper conversation and or a slightly different conversation. But it's all reflecting me.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's if I can stop making things wrong, the way things are showing up in life, if I can stop making them wrong and move into actions and results, every action produces a result. So if I'm getting results that are less than my highest choice, less than what I really desire, I get to change the input. But the input is my beingness, how I show up for me and how I show up in life. Like, use the example someone throwing F-bombs. That's okay. My question still stands. Who am I? Every situation is about me and who I be in the situation. And that determines everything else around me. The F-bombs, if I have fear of anger, I actually attract it.
Yes, that's true.
Because have you heard the thing that I fear is upon me?
Yes, absolutely. And that which we focus our energy on, we attract. And it's not because, well, let's not get into quantum physics.
We could very quickly and very easily.
Let's not get into quantum physics. Just let's stick with neuroscience. All right. Let's just neuroscience. Cool. Okay. So known research, when you focus your energy on something, let's just say an example of my client, focus all her energy on the fear of not getting, right? Yeah. This is where her energy is focused. So that is wiring neurons that support that pattern of existence, which drives all your micro actions. They're totally subconscious, by the way. You're not thinking about this. And the micro actions are examples of fault finding and insults. And, well, if I push this person away, then I don't need to change. The fear still wins. And what I'm focused on still comes true because the brain is trying to prove you right.
Yeah.
It's really good to understand how to leverage that wonderful tool that lives inside of our cranium to the betterment of our being. And oftentimes we don't. We have been taught since birth to focus on what we don't want.
Or even what we do want. Instead of,
but is it in the right place? You can focus on what you want, but if it's coming from a fear and scarcity standpoint, it won't do you any good.
Well, even the word want itself is fear and scarcity.
That's a good point.
Want is to desire without ever having. That's the word want means. We're at Encompass Life, we are very heavily focused on language because every word creates.
Yes.
That's bordering on quantum physics again.
Yeah, but isn't there neurolinguistics? I mean, NLP, if you study NLP, the words you choose mean something, and the brain's fairly literal. And it also it's a lot to do with the power of the word dependent on the culture you came from, right? And different words have different connotations for you, how you were brought up. One word can mean nothing to one person, really, or not at least the way you would take it.
It's about the feelings connected with the words.
Right. And what what words were used when you grew up, what words, what like colloquialisms, for example. A pet peeve one. Well, there's not one thing, it's another. Really? Let's make that show up in your life, why don't we? Or things come in
They
three.
are, but they already have been.
Yeah.
They already have been. They believe it's true because most likely they were taught that as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And
Or
they
saw
pick,
it modeled, right?
yeah. Well, they're most likely a parent believed it. And
Mm-hmm.
so they had proof, the child had proof that it was true.
Right.
But the point is that if that's my belief, then it is true.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because it, like you said, my brain is always going about proving me right. It's really my subconscious goes about and acting like it sets up the steps for me to have exactly what I speak, including the word want, including that I'll be pining over something and never have it, including, the zeros at the,
when you really think about it, it's just like, oh my God, what are we doing to ourselves?
Yeah. I
Like,
mean, I love
oh
seeing
my
these.
God.
Yeah, I love seeing light bulbs come on in my clients' eyes as they begin to get this.
Mm-hmm.
You mean I've been doing this all along? I've been Yes, me too. I've created
Yeah,
my,
yeah.
it's like, there are so many. It's really challenging to win a game before you understand the rules and how the game works.
Yes.
Now, sometimes you can, there's beginner's luck and there's all sorts of other things that happen. But, when I can actually consciously create something, I mean, that's where it's really like, that's, it's interesting. So, there's a study done about feeling fulfilled,
Mm-hmm.
like an enjoyment of life.
Right.
And so on a rating of 1 through 10, and there are lots of things on the lower end, and sex really rates about an 8 on the level of like satisfaction and really loving my life.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. So, and then drugs and psychedelics are somewhere around a 9. The only thing that reached a 10 was actually consciously co-creating something in your life.
Right. Yeah.
It's different than the striving, trying to get there model that most of us have been taught. And some of us are doing that because, you got to work hard to really do a good job, to be good enough. It was an earning.
Yeah. And built into that was you're not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
You have to prove something. You're not inherently a whole, brilliant, capable human being, which has always bothered me. And it's not from an entitled standpoint. It's just, are you saying that we don't have the capabilities, the skills? We have to prove something. We have to earn,
Well, here's the thing. If I can make where I am okay, these are the rules about life that I've understood so far. And there are some new rules that I can begin to play with. I'm proud of me for beginning to understand the new rule or the rule. They've always been in existence, right? Like gravity existed before it was defined.
Right.
So, but wow, I'm proud that I am exploring new ways of really living and loving and enjoying my life.
Mm-hmm.
If I stay in the feeling of proud, my subconscious goes about it has me continue to feel proud. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? So I set the tone of feeling proud, and then everything that's connected to me feeling proud shows up, including whatever my bank account looks like, whatever my body shape looks like, whatever my relationships look like. But so it comes from a beingness. instead of all the doing on the outside.
Right.
And that's when we move from surviving into thriving.
Right. Right. And the emotion is a calling card in a lot of ways, because I remember when I was first learning and experimenting on myself, because I do that first before I coach clients in anything. I was like, okay, this has to work for me first, and then I share. And I was doing some vivid visualization, and I kind of forgot the emotional component. So I had this lovely visualization and all these affirmations thing, and I was feeling anxious at the time while I was doing it. So of
Oh
course,
boy.
oh yeah. So guess what came? I got a lot of abundance and a whole lot of anxiety. And when it happened, I was like, oh, I can't believe I did that. It was kind of funny, to realize I need to watch that emotional component, because it's really important. Have the right emotional resonance.
Yeah, and for me, it's really about going into I wind up in a state of awe. Wow, you mean I am that important and that powerful in my own life that I can have that show up that quickly for me?
A lot of people listening to this, not everyone, but a lot of people listening to this will probably struggle with the word important and powerful. And if that struggles for you, whether you're watching live now or watching the replay or listening to the podcast, I encourage you to dive into that. Why do those two words bother
you? Interesting. Well, and there's a whole bunch of conversations that can be wrapped up in those words.
All right. Yeah. If it bothers you, then what about it bothers you? Where did it come from? What are your connotations to important and powerful? What does it bring up for? Like, as a coach, I would say, okay, thank you for sharing that you have a challenge with that word. What is coming up for you? Is that a vision? Is it a feeling? Is it, can you connect with it in words? And that helps the client understand where is the root cause? What have I defined in my subconscious that is the pattern that erupts from this word? Right?
Yeah. So the two things in my work that I do, the feeling and the language are very important. Because the feelings world and the subconscious are exactly the same. They are interchangeable. So my feelings will always trump. If my feelings are in opposition to my words and my thoughts, my feelings will always trump the situation.
Always win, right?
And that's why affirmations are cool, but until I bring my feelings into alignment, it's a different ball game. And so I actually use decrees versus affirmations.
Okay.
And decrees are they involve a lot of feeling, and usually the decree that comes up for me winds up being something different than I thought. Like affirmations, in my experience so far, there's still that getting. I'm still getting something.
Right. Yeah. When, if, you try to remove those words, because everything is, your body's present, you're present, everything is state, is a current state.
Yeah. The other thing about visualizations that's different. I can do a mental idea of what I think I want. However, there's usually something way better, more amazing than I ever imagined possible available for me.
Yes, that's also true. You could be self-limiting and not even realize it.
Yeah. So if I can do the visualization part, but for me, and in my experience for myself and my clients, that comes from it's still based on my past.
Yes, because you can only visualize what you know.
Yes. The key to moving past that is to actually feel first.
Mm-hmm.
Now that X, Y, and Z is already handled, how do I feel? And really settle into the feeling, because that's my subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
Settle into the feeling of it. And then I will have something. People try to work on their careers, but really, or their job, whatever, entrepreneurship and any of those things, whatever different labels you can put on that. People attempt to work on those things. However, there's something, many times it can be the limiting beliefs about that, but it can also be things that show up in their marriage,
Mm-hmm.
and in their parenting, and in their, it can show up all the different places. So many times, hi, Minnie, when I,
a mini millionaire popping
yeah,
up.
if I go into feeling what I actually, now that this is handled for me,
Mm-hmm.
my subconscious will actually bring forward for me the thing that I actually require to address to have my outcome show up. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there can be things in the way. So, for example, one of our clients has had a successful business, and her business was stuck around 35 million for about 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And great, successful business. She's doing well. And and she was stuck, and she was doing all these other tools and techniques and things like that. But she had been living her life to prove something and to get away from some angry experiences as a child.
Mm.
So what that meant was that it was woven into the fabric of how her business is running.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as she went in and addressed those things, I believe within about 4 or 5 months, she added a 0 to her business.
I think I know.
0 effort. 0 effort. She addressed that the glitch that was in the energy, in her being, her belief system.
Right.
And all of a sudden, it was that easy. Contracts started showing up, and they very quickly had contracts that were, 10 times. And I'm curious to know what, because that was all within a short span. She had a huge amount of contracts come in. So I'm aware that there were many more contracts that came in after that. So it's been a little bit since I've spoken with her. But the other thing that happened for her, because it shows up in her physical body too, it was showing up in her thyroid, because the thyroid is connected to anger, where I've had suppressed anger.
Yeah.
So as she was doing that, after that particular class that we did, her thyroid medicine was, I believe it was reduced down to a quarter of what it was. And I just heard recently through one of our other coaches that she's actually asking to be completely taken off of it.
That's wonderful.
But that's because she addressed that thing that that had been running her program for so long.
Right. Yeah.
Had nothing to do with eating the right foods, or, and yes, the foods can be a blessing to our body, or, they can raise our frequency or lower our frequency.
Mm-hmm.
They can change the conductivity of our body, because we're an electrical being. But, and even with, earlier you mentioned, adding some extra weight, or, the COVID weight, or whatever you said. Yeah. So, and my question is, what had that show up? Even why am I attracted to foods that produce that?
Mm-hmm.
There's something going on in my beliefs. So, for example, if I feel the need to put sweets into my body, that's compensating for me. And sweets are fine and enjoy them. But there was a point in time a few years ago where I noticed every afternoon I would go to the pantry and pull out something sweet. And it was a dark chocolate, but it had some sweetness to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what is going on here? This is different for me. What is this showing up?
Right.
And it was my inability to enjoy the sweetness of life. So I was going to something outside of me, because that's the nice way to say it. But really what was happening is I had bitterness towards how life was playing out, instead of being thankful for, and that, long-term overdosing on sugar, that creates diabetes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really fascinating how it's all so interconnected. And for those people tuning in an hour later, they may be asking, okay, so light bulb's starting to go off. Now what do I do? Like, what is there something I can do to become more aware? How do I work through this? I mean, what can I do? Because people like to do things.
Well, how can I become more aware? That how question is a very taxing question.
You mentioned that when we were talking earlier, like, don't ask how, ask what. What can I do versus how?
Yeah, or now that I've already figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
Because our subconscious operates outside of time and space.
True. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if I ask, for example, if I ask, this is a silly one and maybe different than here, but people will go, oh, why am I such a loser? Why do I screw everything up?
Those are terrible words. Okay.
But people ask that question.
Yeah.
And they will get all the answers. Well, you don't have enough money, and your parents didn't teach you any better. But I mean, you could go down a whole litany. You'll get a mile-long list of reasons. So instead of asking, I mean, I can ask, how can I be more aware? But then I'm still gonna come up with all these things that I have to do to finally be aware.
Okay.
Instead, I can go straight into, wow, I really love being aware. Just use the language.
In other words, establish the right program for the subconscious to act on.
Yeah, tell it what to do. There are all kinds of thoughts and ideas running around up inside there anyway. Mm-hmm. Be on purpose about it instead of it running the show, because it's all, we have tons and to remember the exact number, but something like 6 gigabytes of memory per cell in our body. I believe recently they've discovered there's way more than that.
Mm-hmm. And we are just babies in that type of research. Yeah. We really are.
Yeah. So it's just unless I'm consciously directing my brain, it's just rerunning all the old thoughts connected to those old memories.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of thoughts connected to memories, for those of you tuning in an hour later, what's coming up for you? Have any question marks that you'd like to have addressed, or something you're dealing with right now that you're like, gosh, I really don't know why this is coming up for me, and I need to unpack it a little bit, or anything at all? Let us know, because we're here to help you thrive and help you elevate. I know that earlier you mentioned what you are is what you attract. And oftentimes when I mention this, people are like, well, what about those people who are really bitter, awful people, and they have lots of money? I'm like, well.
Yes, but my question is, are they really enjoying their life?
Exactly.
They still have bitterness showing up all around them.
Right.
I mean, there are people that have money and resent having money.
Yeah, also true. So it's very interesting, because I was going to pick up my husband at College Station, because we have a big event here, MS 150, support multiple sclerosis. And he biked like a couple 100 miles this weekend. So awesome. I went to go pick him up. And on the way there, I stopped off. I was like, I'm hungry. I want to go to my favorite restaurant and get something to eat, my favorite dish. So I went there, and I was sitting at the bar. And I was listening to the conversation around me, and the bartender was telling, well, be glad this lady usually comes in here on Sundays in here. I was like, oh, really? Why? And, well, she likes to tell people all about her issues, and she's quasi bazillionaire, but she's got a therapist, and her life is terrible, and she's so unhappy. I was like, just going,
Send her over.
Right. I know where to send her. Michelle, take care of all that.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my language, the words coming out of my mouth, they reveal where I am in my beliefs and what I'm creating moving forward. So if I catch something coming out of my mouth that's that's different than what I really choose to have show up, I just, whoops, and speak something new. Because my brain and my subconscious, it's going to go about directing exactly what I put into, whatever instructions I give it. So, it's really, it's a beautiful relationship. Right. Everything in life is a signal. It's a reflection of me. And that's the easiest. All I do is change me, and everything begins to shift around me. I did that. I mean, a few years ago, I really had zero idea how I was going to pay the rent or the electric bill or put food on the table for me and my 2 daughters. I was really beating myself up about some choices I'd made. And thinking, now up till the time where I made those choices, I had plenty of money. But as soon as I went into beating myself up and thinking, well, you don't really deserve that, and you're not good enough, and then all of a sudden, it tanked. It tanked. And if I had continued on the self beat up, it would have presented as autoimmune diseases, because that's where the body's beating itself up. That's autoimmune. So I could have gone and I did for a little bit until I began to really understand what's happening here. This was before I got into this type of coaching. But I blamed my company changing their requirements of me so that, I blame them so that the way they changed things, basically I got laid off because they were shifting all my hours. And I was like, guys, I have 2 small kids. Like, no. And I blamed them for a little while. And I was, I just, clients, blah, 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 blah. I had all these stories running. And as soon as I took responsibility for my own stuff and forgave me for, instead of beating myself up, hey, it's okay, I learned something. I'm beginning to learn how life works. Wow, okay, now I'm really proud of me for that. And as soon as I began doing that, my income level began to reflect me feeling proud of me. Like, it's almost too simple.
You're right. In a way, it really is, because our culture, our society, our paradigms, we love to make it complex. We struggle because we've been told that, well, success is hard and it comes out of hard work and it's complex and all these things, and all these narratives that we've consumed, heard, believed, repeated, tell us that, oh, it can't possibly be this simple. And a lot of the work that I do with my clients is unlearning. right? And letting go of that which does not serve you and allowing that to be okay and celebrating self. I mean, other things, but it truly is very, very simple. And I've had people ask me, well, why is it so hard?
It's simple and requires a lot of courage. That's it. I mean, most of the stuff that's going on, most of the things that have gone on in my life and with my clients, it really boils down to forgiving and making a new choice. That's what it comes down to. I mean, sometimes I've forgiven my parents for the things that they didn't teach me because they didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Or the thing, they did something to me, they were hard on me or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What did I learn in that moment? That's the question, because they were still teaching me. It's up to me what I got out of it. I could have gotten out of it, well, my parents are jerks. And life's not fair, and you're so mean.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can say, wow, I really, authority was a very harsh thing for me growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I can hold on to anger about the way they did it, or I can go, wow, I can really see how important it is for me to be playful authority in my own life with my children. We can have fun, and I can still mean what I say.
Mm-hmm.
And have those results show up. If I'm doing it with my children, I guarantee you I'm doing it in my business too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of finding it.
Right.
So, the first thing to change for anyone, be aware of your language.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first step, because it's creating something. And what are you creating with it?
Right.
That's the easiest first step for anyone and everyone.
What are the narratives that you repeat? What is it, the script that you believe, and what are your labels, your personal labels that you put on yourself? It's interesting. Just a couple of weeks ago, I realized I used to tell myself, well, I don't need to be famous or whatever. I don't want to be famous. And I had all these attachments to that and whatever. And I realized I was keeping myself from a lot of opportunities. And I was like, oh, geez. It's a learning process, and it's so much fun to do this.
Well, and speaking in knots is the fastest way to produce anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Absolute fastest way. Mm-hmm. If I'm focused on what I don't like, don't want, mm-hmm. can't have, shouldn't do, won't be.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's really, quantum physics is, to not talk about quantum physics is like not talking about life.
I'm not breathing. I know.
Yeah. So but we could keep it kind of.
I'll keep it the
easy level, and that's all I do anyway. This is other than a science lesson. It's about life, because it's how life works, because it supersedes out any of the other scientific laws out there. Quantum physics is it's in combination with and really dominates the conversation for everything. So,
if you focus on what you don't want, the quantum field aligns to provide that which you're focused on.
Yeah, well, it's like saying, don't think about the purple elephant with pink polka dots.
Right. And everybody's thinking about purple elephant with pink polka dots.
Mine has a little yellow umbrella too.
It's kind of like telling a teenager or a child, right, what they can't have, and of course they're immediately focused on what they can't have.
Or when people go on a diet.
Right.
I can't eat bread. So it's really interesting. life is waiting for my directions. We're talking about language here. My
Mhm.
life is waiting for my directions that come out of my mouth, that I think and how I feel. So if I'm saying, oh, we'll do it this way. Erin, ask me where I'm going today.
Where are you going, Michelle?
Not Texas.
Did
I answer your question?
No.
Okay. Okay. And did I give my energy or my life any direction?
Not really. Except
Not
if
at
you're
all.
in Texas. I mean,
yeah, but that could mean I'm going to Pluto.
Mm-hmm. Let me know if you do.
Travel at the speed of light. Thank you. Maybe faster than the speed of light. Sounds better. That's a long trip.
Yeah.
So, if someone has a lot of anxiety and stress going on, whether it's in their business or in their life, I can just about guarantee that more than half of their language is in knots.
And we don't mean KNOTS.
No, we mean NOTS.
Which creates KNOTS.
It does in the physical body. You are absolutely correct.
It does. How many people carry their attention somewhere? And is that related to a knot? Can't have a yeah.
Yeah. And so really, if I have the power, there's that word again. If I have the power to direct all the energy in my life, and I'm saying I'm not, I don't, I can't, I'm putting myself in direct opposition to life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really a complaint. When I have all the tools and all the solutions right here, and I'm saying I don't, I'm saying that's not good enough, it's a complaint.
Mm-hmm.
Stanford did a study on complaining. Do you know what complaining does?
A lot of bad things.
Okay. Specifically, Specifically, in the physical body, it damages neurological transmitters.
Wow. I knew there was a reason why I felt exhausted whenever I was around somebody who did
even actively listening to it. Or passively listening to it, damages neurological transmitters.
Yep.
So that means, we're going to get this really simple. That means if I'm presented with new information, it's like hitting a brick wall. Bing, bing. It goes nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if I take that to the next level of simplicity, that means complaining makes me stupid.
Wow. I knew it reduced cognitive function, which is kind of the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that sounds cool, but that's all airy. That's all kind of out in the ethers. It reduces cognitive function. Like, to me, that's cool. But if I say complaining makes me stupid, all
right, that's more plain speak.
It gets super applicable really fast.
Right. Pretty much anyone can understand that one.
Yeah, I mean, and that's important for me because I can feel. If I say that, I can feel the times where I felt stupid before.
Mm-hmm.
And I can also realize that was of my own doing. It's okay. But that also means speaking in knots produces stupidity. And if we're talking about business, I can have all these creative, amazing, inspired ideas about how to move my business forward. If I'm complaining, I block myself from having inspired ideas.
It's a potential outcome. Yeah.
The way my pineal and pituitary are designed to work together.
Or if you're seeking career advancement in your life, you're complaining, you could make yourself blind to opportunities.
Yep. Yeah. And really, I could be, if we're talking about getting awarded a position that, several people are competing for the same position, Well, if I'm busy focused on, well, so-and-so's, cheating, or, sometimes there's like a sales thing. Hey, whoever makes the most sales or whatever it might be, if I'm focused on, well, so-and-so's cheating and this doesn't really work and they're being a jerk and they're stealing my clients, they just won. Because I cut myself off from seeing how to play the game and win with integrity.
Mm-hmm. Now, some people listening to this or watching currently may think to themselves, what, I'm supposed to just put up with it and not say anything? So what's the difference between complaining and stating the obvious?
So if I can be aware of what's going on, and if I can just relax about it, I will have inspired ideas. I mean, sometimes it's about saying something, but sometimes I have a way to, it's like beating the system.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a different energy that comes up. If I can explain the story, if I'm explaining the story and my belly's in knots and my shoulders are tight and my breathing is reduced,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm still operating from anger and frustration. And even if I got awarded the job, it's going to have tons of anger and frustration connected to it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like when you were talking about the visualization.
Right.
It'll be the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can move into or stay in relaxation and ease, because if someone is, cheating or cutting corners or doing whatever, that's on them. That says more about their character.
Yes.
That has nothing to do with me. What is my character? Who am I?
Mm-hmm.
And when I do that, then as I can identify that and stay relaxed, then all of a sudden I can pop through with all these different solutions or ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like, can be a silly example, but my kids can leave dishes, on the kitchen table or in the living room on the table where they have a little snack or something like that. And I can walk around with anger. I'll just clean it up. I'll just put it in the dishwasher myself. And I can walk around like that. And then I can go, you guys, you didn't clean up after yourselves. And that produces strife and anger and resentment in the house. The whole vibe of the house comes down. Or I can stay playful and come up with a really fun way to address it. Hey guys, you left these dishes laying around, so I'm just going to put them in your bed for you. And you can clean them up. and it's funny. But they get the point.
Right. Yeah.
They get the point. They get grossed out by that. Oops. So, but if I go to anger and resentment and stay there, I can't have the fun, playful side show up.
Mm-hmm.
Because two things cannot occupy the same space at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So
true.
It's up to me. Who am I being and what am I going to do with it? Wow, I love being playful authority in my life.
Mm-hmm.
In my workspace. That's what it takes to effectively lead a team of people and really have a work culture that you love, is playful authority.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the thing. If I'm decreeing or speaking, I love being playful authority. I am playful authority in my life. Now, most likely everybody's used those words. It's probably a little different for people to put those words together in that order.
Right. Well, oftentimes people think authority, very different connotation than playful, and they're like, their brain's probably doing, what?
Perfect. Because anything that's in your brain is based on your past, and we're going for something brand new.
Mm-hmm.
So perfect. Okay, now here's the thing. If I have areas in my life where I've done something other than being playful authority, if I've been a doormat, or if I've been pissy authority, or if I've been anything else, guess what? That's going to come to my attention. Not because I'm bad or not because I'm doing it wrong. but because I just made a new choice, and it's coming up for me to apply it in this area too, if I choose. It's a blessing. It's stored on a cellular level. It's stored on a physiological level, and how all my hormones work together, my whole endocrine system. It's all reflecting me. So that's way fun for me. Okay. Then it's easy to move through it because I'm aware that it's transforming from my greatest weakness to my greatest strength.
I like that. And I like how you come back to this transforming your greatest weakness to your greatest strength. We're just about at time. It's been a genuine pleasure and truly fascinating because I continue to have this conversation with you for quite some time. So I hope all of you who have tuned in now or watching the replay later or listening to the podcast have enjoyed what you've heard today. And if you would like to learn more, please reach out to Michelle Spires. You can reach out to her directly on LinkedIn, or to reach out directly to Encompass Life as well. And they have, I think, workshops coming up. You have some workshops coming up?
Yeah, we do. I'll just share one. It's an online program. It's a 4-week class, and it's 2 evenings a week, and it begins June 6th, and it's called The Basics. And we get into more in depth about what we're talking about here. But, I love finding the little nugget that's been permeating through someone's personal life, their business life, their, all the areas. And we touch that one little thing and everything changes like that. That's what we do. So that's what The Basics is really about. I mean, that's what everything we do is really about, being a quantum leap specialist. But, The Basics is a great place to start and really begin to understand the rules and tools we have available in life.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's really good. Well, thank you so much for being a wonderful guest. And thank you again for all of you tuning in either now or watching the replay or listening to the podcast. This particular live show and podcast has its own YouTube channel. Now we've got our own YouTube channel, so feel free to subscribe if you'd like to be notified of all the live shows that come up with great guests. Although it's hard to trump Michelle's experience today and the knowledge she shared with us. So I want to give you deep gratitude for being here and holding space. David mentioned, he said, fascinating, lots to think about. Looking forward to listening to it again and getting a deeper understanding, because it's a lot to unpack. And for one, and I really appreciate that, by the way, Michelle, for giving us such a deep dive and helping us understand and counteract a lot of the myths that we live our life and structure our patterns around. Opening that door for us. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'll also put out there, I do offer a 30-minute introductory session. If somebody's
interested you up on that now.
Yeah, yeah, and it'll be a deep dive. Come ready to play, because we've been talking about things today, and we're actually going to do it.
That's awesome. So it's been such a pleasure.
Yeah,
and until next time, friends, keep elevating.
Thank you so much.
Bye.